President Biden yesterday telling city leaders to use that COVID relief money to hire more police officers. The president met with federal law enforcement and community leaders to talk about his administration's plan to stem the massive spike in violent crime across America. Gun control is also a big part of his plan. There was no mention of the defund the police push, root cause, that's backed by some on the left. National police groups who were not invited to the meeting are very critical of that. The president of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund told the Washington Examiner, quote, "Money isn't the problem with police recruitment and retention. Cops are leaving because they have been disrespected and disempowered. They are subject to foolish, knee-jerk legislative action that will subject them to nearly unlimited personal liability and criminal prosecution just for doing their job," end quote. James Craig is the former police chief of Detroit. Chief Craig, great to have you back on the program to take a look at this. So as you hear the argument now from the White House, it is, we'll throw some money at it through the COVID-19 relief bill. Your reaction?
I got to tell you, Harris, it falls short. I'm very disappointed. So when you really unpack what was being said, so this is political gamemanship. So we're going to throw money, we're going to counter the Republicans, and we're just going to refund the police. But then when you listen to what was said, they pointed to hiring police to do community relations. Here's a couple of things that's missing. How about crime control? How about focusing on the violent criminals who are out perpetuating violence? What about that? And then let's talk about police morale. That didn't come up. Very disappointing not to hear that we're not going to focus on the men and women who do the work. Because if you don't focus on them, nothing's going to change. And then let's talk about the mayor hopeful. And while I agreed with him when he first started talking about that priorities were misplaced and that we shouldn't focus on gun control and police reform, but yet he comes out of the meeting yesterday as if the issues that were talked about were substantial. Role of police. Another way of saying reimagining police, schools and employment. And while those things are great, and I support all of that, and I certainly support community policing, those are long-range goals. We have got to stop the bleeding now, and no one has come up with a plan. We're not even talking about bail reform.
Yeah, literally, stop the bleeding. It is a violent mess with spikes well above 200% in certain categories of violent crime like murder in cities across America. One of the other things, Chief, that I thought was missing is that conversation, that real conversation about the actual crime in Chicago and many cities. It isn't coming at the hands of cops for black men. It's coming with predominantly black men against black and other people of color in their communities. I mean, those numbers, those victims and those perpetrators, no one's talking about that, not even the mayors of those cities. According to police data obtained by the Chicago Sun-Times from January to June, 363 police officers have left the department, and another 56 are expected to retire this month. Geraldo Rivera says Chicago cops are already overwhelmed by gangs and torched President Biden's plan to curb the violence. Let's watch. I'll get your reaction.
In Chicago, there are 117,000 gang members versus 12 or 13,000 cops. That means the gangsters outnumber the cops by 10 to 1. This is the civil rights issue of our day. There's a ghetto civil war going on. Now, I didn't mean to be rude to the president, but it is preposterous when you compare the scale of what he is offering to do with the nature of the problem.
Chief Craig.
I got to tell you, once again, and I agree with what Geraldo's saying, but what he left out was this progressive governance. Look, police officers are not supported. I don't care if they can find a way, and they won't be able to hire 2,000 more police officers. The bottom line, they don't feel supported. And candidly, I believe there's depolicing going on. They're pulling back because they don't feel supported. So unless they do that and have an honest conversation about what needs to happen, nothing is going to change. And so they put their heads in the sand and do what? Do nothing. And then we do this superficial approach to policing, reimagining policing. And then one thing that they conveniently leave out of the conversation, okay, so the moderate Democrats are backing off of defunding, but what they're not backing off of is ending qualified immunity. Ending qualified immunity is nothing more than defunding the police. So when are we going to have an honest conversation? And you know what? I hope that the candidate for mayor in New York moves forward and holds on to his values.
You're talking about Eric Adams.
Eric Adams, law and order, but I got to tell you, somewhat disappointed in the contradiction of what I heard yesterday. Look, we got to stop bleeding. People have got to be locked up for committing violent crimes and prosecuted, not let out to commit more crimes. We know what the Texas governor was talking about. 18,000 out on tether and out recommitting crimes. It's not working, Harris.
Chief Craig, thank you so much. I can't wait to have you back on another day. Let's further that conversation about New York, because all eyes on these larger cities where tourists want to come. But I got to tell you, we're having some problems keeping them safe. Chief,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Harris.